Hey everyone, it's Suey here, and I am home from the epic trip that we just went on, and I am here to report that I read one book while I was gone. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Yes, finally. This is one that I've heard about. How long has it been now? When did this one get published? 2015. Jeez Louise. This is a series that's really popular. And so I got a hold of it a while back and finally read it while I was on the trip. And now I know what everyone was talking about, but I'm not sure at the same time why it's so popular. If you haven't read it, the summary of this book is about a girl who is struggling to provide for her family. She reminded me of Katniss a little bit. She goes out and hunts and provides for her family. Her father's an invalid, her mother's gone. I can't remember what happened to her mom. She's got these two sisters who are kind of useless, and so she's out hunting and she kills a wolf. And she's concerned that it could perhaps have been a fairy, because in this world they live side by side with the fairies. They have some sort of treaty so that they're not supposed to bother each other. There's a wall. They have conflicts. She knows that this wolf could perhaps have been a fairy, but she decides he's not. So she kills the wolf, she kills the deer. A little bit later, somebody comes to her door and she's in trouble for killing the wolf, who was in fact a fairy. The dude that comes to her door takes her away and says that because of the treaty between the humans and the fairies, she has to go and live in his realm now. And she's not so sure what that means, but she goes because he promises to take care of her family. And she ends up living in the fairy world with him and proceeds to fall in love with him and learns about what's going on in the fairy land. I think that's about all I'm going to say about the summary of it without spoilers. Now I want to talk more about it. There might be spoilers because I'm pretty sure everybody's read this book. Raise your hand if you haven't read this book. Who has not read this book yet? I'm curious because I feel like I'm the last person on earth to have read it. Let me just say that I struggled a little bit in the beginning. I felt like it was slow and it took a long time for anything to really happen. And I kept thinking, what is the big deal? Why is everybody left so much? I wasn't feeling very connected to these characters at all. When they started connecting, it felt superficial to me. I wanted, I don't know if I would call it a slower burn or a more of a character development, but I felt like they did not get to know each other very well. And I didn't know that much about them either. Like, it's hard to explain. It felt surface level of a relationship, does that make sense? And so I wasn't that invested in it. And then at the end, when she has to prove herself to the bad queen lady, she has to do these trials, right? And she has to save Tamlin, is that his name? And save the fairies. And then it got very page-turning after that. And it got very intense. But at the same time, it was too much for me. It was too gory and violent, and I can't handle reading torture stuff. I was more into it and more engaged, but also kind of it was just a little bit disturbing. And I love that it has a nice wrapped up ending. I was afraid that it would leave me totally hanging, and it doesn't really, which I'm happy for because I am not totally sure I want to keep reading the series. So if you have read all this series, let me know what you think. And I am guessing there's going to be a love triangle now with the Reese dude, and that's kind of going to be upsetting, I think. And because maybe that will prove to me that the relationship she has with Tamlin isn't really that strong, which is what I feel like right now. So I don't really know what to think after all this. Finally reading the book. I really don't know what to think about it because it was good, but at the same time, it wasn't near as good as I expected because of all the hype and everyone else loving it. And I really do want to know what other people think. So if you've read it, let me know. Are you a huge fan? Does it get like 10 times more involved in the future books? Do I need to keep reading the future books? Is the torture thing and the it's not just torture, and it's necessarily, I guess it's the intense violence and a little bit graphic. Does that continue? I'm assuming that continues, right? That's what I thought about this book. I'm not sure what I'm gonna rate it. Maybe I wish there was half stars for this one, because I liked it better than a 3, but I'm not sure it was a total 4 for me. I'll probably err on the side of 4 stars. Even though that beginning was rough, it's taken me the entire month to read this book, and I feel like it shouldn't have. It's not that big. It was a good one to take on the trip with me. So those are my thoughts, and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Bye.